Yeah, what? How's it not right? We throw the top ones and the bottom ones out, and we keep the three in the middle. Alright. I was a math major in school. I got a B+ in calculus. Fuck with me. Fuck with me. Okay? Alright. Trying to tell me. Alright, up next to the mic, y'all. I want y'all to put your hands together right now. Y'all show your love for Donyell.
I like to analyze things. It's my way of making sense of the unknown and gaining a deeper understanding of what, where, when, and why, and how. At times, my analysis of various issues may yield an unexplained or unexpected reason, or a dead end of rationale. Yet, my determination to understand and to gain perspective is never ending. I remember when I was a child, the first time I saw my mother smoke, I asked her, "Do you want to die?" Naturally, she said no. But I couldn't understand why she smoked if she didn't want to die. As I grew older, I noticed she spent less and less time around. I wondered, does she notice or think about me as much as I notice and think about her not being in my life? I reasoned, if she really loved me, wouldn't she be here? Wouldn't she care about how much I wanted her attention? Why doesn't she notice how much her little boy needs her at such an important time in his life? As I became a young man, my anger and resentment displaced my love and desire to have a relationship with her. Instead, I wanted nothing to do with her. Despite how I felt, I always wondered, why didn't my mother want me? Why didn't she fight for me? Why? What I didn't know is that eventually I would find the answer. Now, something I didn't mention at the outset is that throughout my childhood, my mother struggled with substance abuse. She struggled with the abuse that was heaped upon her from the men in her life. She struggled with She struggled with being a mother to her children. She struggled with being a daughter to her mother. And she struggled with being a sister to her siblings and a friend to so many others. But my mother was so beautiful, and not just physically. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, my mother would gather up all the young girls in our neighborhood and do their hair. She would cook meals large enough for an army, and actually it was. It was for the army of young children who was hungry in the neighborhood. Children who, like me, was enduring the reality of a mother struggling with substance abuse. As the years went on, I remember meeting an older woman who came into my life for what now seems like for no other reason but to give me an explanation as to why my mother chose drugs and the streets over her family. A woman whose name I can't remember, unlike that moment we shared when she held me and explained to me why my mother wasn't in my life all those years. She told me and reassured me that, being a mother herself, she knows there's no doubt in her mind that my mother loved me. She explained to me that substance abuse, which leads to addiction, is a disease, and that her addiction was like having a noose tied around her neck, squeezing tighter and tighter and tighter, and that only she had the power, coupled with determination and support, to release or untie that noose. Sadly, that noose eventually strangled the life out of her. Like so many others during slavery and the civil rights movement, except she was a slave to the drugs. I remember feeling so alone and empty, numb and lethargic. There were so many voids scattered throughout my emotional and psychological landscape that no matter how many times I heard "I love you" or received a hug or any form of encouragement or commendation, see, those positive things that were done or said had lost its value. In my mind, the very definition and meaning had changed. However, 6 months prior to my mom dying, my siblings and I visited her at the hospital, all 5 of us. So when we all entered into the room, I couldn't help but observe how neither one of us wanted to get too close to her or touch her. And as I'm watching this, I remember just feeling so disheartened by this, putting myself in her shoes. How would I feel if my children felt that way toward me? So I remember saying a little prayer for courage. And by her bedside, there was lotion. I grabbed the lotion, lotioned her face. I lotioned her arms and her hands, her legs and her feet. And I gave her a small kiss on her forehead. Now, she had a breathing tube down her throat, so she couldn't speak, but I could tell she was trying to say something. And with her eyes, I could tell she was saying, thank you, I love you. And she looked over to my siblings, and she looked at them, and I knew she was saying, I love you. Now you see, what's interesting about that situation is, all those years of my anger and resentment, those voids, that big gaping hole and void in my life, in that very moment, all of it disappeared. It was gone. It no longer existed. And in that moment, I was able to forgive my mom. And to this day, I only have positive memories of my mother.